Just after lockdown last year, we had a drainage crew come in and do some maintenance work on our soak pit. And unfortunately, while they were here, we got quite a bit of rain and the backyard ended up being a complete mess. So we decided instead of trying to fix up what we had, we'd rip it all out and attempt putting in a brand new lawn. I headed off to Hirepool, who lent me a mini loader with a rotary hoe attachment and a lawn roller. And armed with YouTube how-to videos, I started this DIY project. After killing the grass, the first step was to rotary hoe the whole lawn so the soil can be easily moved around. Bear in mind this whole job should probably take about 3 days, but between issues with rain and some other commitments, I was more like 6 days start to finish. So it's the end of the first day on the lawn, and as you can tell, the rain just started, so I was kind of lucky. I literally finished and it started to come down. Now I had a few things on today, so this is probably just under half a day's work on the machine. It's surprising how hard the ground was, so it actually was a little bit slow going. Tomorrow morning I will finish off that last little strip, and then I will be getting into swapping out the rotary hoe attachment, and I put on the bucket and start spreading this around, smoothing it, changing the levels a little bit, trying to make it a little bit nicer for the new lawn. So hopefully it'll be a bit more fun, and hopefully I'll be quicker at that. A couple of my goals in redoing the lawn is I have a whole bunch of leftover soil up there, which is sort of excess, which I need to drag down, but also I've got some good area to lose over here, because down along the edge the water runs towards that edge, and then on top of that it's the most shaded area of the garden, so that sort of about a metre strip or more is often like just really mossy and doesn't really grow grass very well. So in dragging some of the soil down here and some of that, I'm going to try and level it across a little bit more so that there's a little bit of fall, but try and get the fall mainly in the middle, and yeah, try and keep that shady edge from holding all the moisture really, and hopefully growing some better grass. So this is the start of day 3, and the first 2 days I've had issues with rain. That's kind of slowed things down a little bit. I mean, I've only kind of got half days in. Initially when I was doing this job, I was thinking I was going to get a little small digger, but then I realised that I also needed to rotary hoe it, and I didn't want this big area, it's about 110 square metres, I didn't want to hand operate a rotary hoe, and so I realised that this was probably a better option. It saved me having to go back and forth to get 2 pieces of equipment from Hirepool, and I could, obviously I could just like switch over between the two really easily, and there's heaps of videos on YouTube about using these to redo lawns and stuff, so I kind of knew I had that there. It's a real bonus being able to like swap the bucket out and the rotary hoe out really quickly, because there's been a few times where I've rotary hoed it, scraped loose material, and then had to get the rotary hoe back on there again, and it's literally minutes. So I'll show you how easy that is. I call this part of the show learning from Richard's mistakes. So I assume that, like a hand rotary hoe machine that you often hold from behind and you walk forward, it walks itself forward. I made the assumption that with this machine you drive it forward, rotary hoeing. Turns out that's not right. If you look here, excuse the pooch, this is me going forward now. I've driven over a little bit, but it's kind of like you can see here the tracks and the bumps and just all a bit rough. Now this stuff has a bit more grass in it, so it's a little bit messier, but just walk over here and show you the result you get from doing it the correct way, which is going backwards. Look at that. While I did end up redoing the whole lawn rotary hoeing backwards to help smooth it off, what I ultimately had to do, and didn't actually film, was I had to rake out all of the dead grass, and that's what made the difference in smoothing out the bottom half of the lawn. I had a last minute change of heart yesterday morning, and decided that I wanted to put some lawn mix down, which I was trying to avoid. And lawn mix is basically a combination of topsoil, sand, it's weed free, it's got organic matter in it. Just helps for the roots to take hold and for the grass to thrive basically with that organic matter. I took the King back yesterday after I spread that lawn mix all around, and from there it's just been the rake, wheelbarrow, shovel and roller that I got from Hirepool. It's a lawn roller. So first I'll use that to roll this down and gives it a nice solid surface, and then again once I've laid the lawn, that you roll across the top of the lawn again just to help that push down and bed down and smooth it off. This is it. This is all the prep done and dusted. Excuse the pun. Yeah, I've shifted quite a bit of soil around, obviously rotary hoed everything, raked finishing touches, rolled it to give it a nice firm finish, and yeah, it's come up pretty good, I reckon. Not too bad. Got all my levels right. You wouldn't use it as a putting green, but I think it'll pass as a backyard lawn. Tomorrow I've got the ready lawn arriving. I'm going to get it stuck over here on some pallets. Obviously I'll be watering it as I go, give it a roll once it's done, and keep off it and keep watering it for the next 4 weeks. That's the plan. The turf's about to be delivered in the next hour or two, and I'm actually pretty excited to be able to transform this backyard from the ugly, patchy, muddy backyard that it's been into hopefully an awesome backyard for the family that looks good. This is 122 square metres, so because we don't get the turf until close to midday, we've really only got a half day to lay it. Yeah, fingers crossed by the end of the day we'll have the whole thing done and we'll get that big transformation that we've been really hanging out for all these months. So the grass I chose for this is called Kikuyu, and if you're not familiar with it, I'm just going to point out why I chose that. Firstly, it's really hard wearing, so young families, dogs, that sort of thing can handle that really well, and it's got builds up a bit of a spongy mat, so it's pretty good for kids running around and falling over, that sort of thing. Secondly, it's self-repairing. If you spilt petrol on a spot or dug a hole or something like that, within a few weeks it's got these tentacles that will grow over and repair that area. And thirdly, and probably most importantly, is it's drought resistant. So last summer we had bad drought up in Auckland, and without water this stuff stays nice and green and as a good lawn. Some of the negatives of Kikuyu is that if you live in an area that's cooler than Auckland, it struggles with frosts. So Auckland doesn't really get frost, so it's pretty good up here, but anything further south, if you get frost, it really sort of browns off and dies off a little bit over winter. It takes a little bit to come back from. And it's maybe not as luxurious as some of the finer grasses that you get. And thirdly, the self-repairing nature of it, those tentacles that grow out, if they're left unattended, if we walked away from this house for a year and didn't do anything to the lawn, we'd come back and it would be growing up the sides of up the deck and over garden walls and up fences and all that sort of thing. So not really an issue for us, but maintenance wise, you've got to keep on top of it. The new lawn. That's my new lawn with 4 weeks of growth. I'm pretty stoked with that. It's had a lot of sunshine and a lot of water. Pull out my trusty ruler, which is 300 mils, and you can see that that's about how long a lot of that grass is. So it is ready for its first mow, and I'm about to get into that right now. So there it is, my DIY backyard lawn. It was actually heaps of fun playing with the Kanga Loader, and the job itself is pretty easy. It's definitely worth having a DIY go at. The yard's looking mint, kids have a great lawn to play and run around on. Now it's on to my next project. Rebuilding my garage.